Access $85,000 with no personal liability within 30 days. Do you lack the funds to start a business? Have you racked up personal debt trying to start a business? Are you currently operating a business and giving personal guarantees on business credit? Did you know that even with an LLC, if you personally guarantee financing, you are still liable? Thousands of business owners lost millions of dollars in personal assets when the economy took a downturn. 90% of business owners did not realize that they had given personal guarantees under business financing. These business owners were under the impression that their corporate structure would take the fall if anything were to go wrong. These business owners suffered quite a shock when the business took a turn for the worst and the bank started coming after their personal house, car, credit, and more. Don't let yourself be caught in the same situation. Be sure your business is not putting your family or yourself at risk. So how can you avoid being caught in the same situation? Stop giving personal guarantees on business financing. Access the funding you need to start a business. Pay off personal debt from business investments. You can secure business financing directly off your EIN with no personal liability. How is this possible? By building corporate credit. By building corporate credit, you'll be able to separate your personal credit from your business, access large amounts of funding with no personal liability, protect your family, yourself, and your assets. Building corporate credit allows you to build your business with no personal liability, as well as pay off current business debt on personal credit with no personal liability. The first step in building corporate credit is to establish a corporate structure, such as an LLC or corporation. If you do not currently have an LLC or corporation, we will establish one for you at no cost. The next step in building corporate credit is to ensure your company is compliant with the state and DNB. DNB is the major corporate credit bureau that institutions will refer to when deciding whether or not to provide your company funding. You'll then need to submit your company to DNB and actually pass those compliance checks. Once you have passed compliance checks, you can begin to establish trade and credit lines to access funding. Establishing and using these lines will build your PAYDEX score. Your PAYDEX score is equivalent to a FICO for your business. Like a FICO runs from 0 to 800, a PAYDEX runs from 0 to 80. The more funding you have, the higher your PAYDEX will go. The higher your PAYDEX goes, the more funding you will receive with no personal liability. The problem with building corporate credit, and the reason most business owners never do, is that it's a very complicated process. The compliance checks that DNB does before approving your profile includes hundreds of cross-references and verifications with state and other business documents. The smallest difference of having your address listed as 123 Smith Street with the word street abbreviated as ST dot and having street actually spelled out STREET on another could get you blacklisted. If you get blacklisted by DNB, no institution will give you funding. Once you're blacklisted, there's no way to fix it unless you dissolve your whole corporate structure and start from scratch. Once you've passed your compliance checks, the issue becomes actually receiving credit lines with no personal guarantees. Institutions do not want to give funding with no personal guarantees. This is especially true when dealing with businesses with no business credit history or a low PAYDEX score. Once you find sufficient funding, you'll need to make sure they report to DNB. 90% of institutions do not report to DNB. If they do not report to DNB, it'll not do you any good to establish that line because it will not build your corporate credit profile or PAYDEX score. To get around these obstacles, you'll need to be familiar with the hundreds of compliance checks DNB does, so you can ensure you'll not be blacklisted when you apply with DNB. You'll need to know which institutions report to DNB and build relationships with those institutions so they're willing to give you funding. Lastly, you must understand the processes of each institution so you know how to position your corporate credit profile to get approved for funding. Each institution uses different processes to decide whether or not to give your business funding. It's important you know how to position your profile so it appears to be compliant with that institution's requirements to give lending. Building corporate credit is all about appearance. You have to be sure to know how to paint the picture for the institutions you're hoping to get funding from. So what's the solution? The Business Credit Division. The Business Credit Division is run by experts in the field of building corporate credit. Our company is full of ex-bank underwriters and attorneys that know what banking and lending institutions are looking for and know how to position your profile. We've spent years building relationships with banking and lending institutions to give our clients access to business funding with no personal guarantees. Our experts have the ability to get your company access to large amounts of funding with no personal liability in a short period of time. We can offer your company up to a guaranteed $85,000 in corporate credit within 30 days of your profile being established, with no personal guarantees and no personal liability. You can build up to $250,000 at an 80 Paydex score within just 6 months. You'll be provided with access to industry experts, as well as guidance from ex-bank underwriters and attorneys that know exactly what needs to be done to get your business access to funding with no personal liability. To get started, you need to fill out and submit some basic information for our experts to review. We will immediately receive your information and begin the qualification process. Not everyone qualifies for the program. However, if you do qualify, we will be able to immediately inform you of how much funding you qualify for, and you can immediately begin accessing funding. To get started, you need to click the link below and fill out the required information. One of our funding agents will then review the documentation and run your information through our qualification system to see how much funding you might qualify for. Thank you for watching this short video on building corporate credit. Please click the link below, submit your information, and wait 5 to 10 minutes while we process your information.